Hello, everybody, and welcome again to Keeping It Spiritually Simple. I am your host, Sandra. And again, we're talking to another amazing guest that can live an ordinary life, having extraordinary experiences, and how you incorporate all these amazing experiences into a not so ordinary life. So please welcome Susan Edwards. She is a healer, an author, and the owner of Nice Rock Shop. So how are you today, Susan?
I am excellent.
Awesome.
And thank you very much for inviting me onto your video channel and your podcast. And hi to everybody out in the community that's watching.
You are most welcome. You know, I'm really drawn to people who are authentic and that are doing some things and aren't all into the naysaying about politics and all the other stuff that can't do a whole lot about, and how to live in the now moment, and tips and things to help you skill and hone that. So you own the Nice Rock Shop. So tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about you, and we'll go from there.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I guess it starts with who I am. And I am I'm a lady who lives in Western Kentucky. And I've always loved crystals and rocks. I've always had voices in my head, not the kind that was like that. Well, kind of like that, but
Yeah.
But it was spiritual kind of voices in my head. I always knew that I was different, the odd man out, and I just never really felt like a kid. I feel like I was born an adult. And as you can imagine, like a lot of people, that put me on the odds with family, friends, and normal experiences. Grew up thinking that this is just the way it is. And when I finally got on my spiritual path, I started to recognize that not everybody is an empath or a psychic medium. And I was. And so I learned how to navigate the corporate world because I needed to make a living, but it never felt right. And about 10 years ago, I went on a crystal dig because a friend of mine said, oh, you got to go on a crystal dig. So I went on a crystal dig. And I couldn't figure out why I was feeling all these frequencies in the ground, because you sit on the ground and you dig in the dirt for crystals. So I got home and I'm like, what was I really feeling? And it reawakened my curiosity and my passion for crystals. And like many, many obsessions, you either have to stop or you got to figure out a way to make money out of it. So I decided I would try to make money out of it, and I opened up a rock shop, hence Nice Rock Shop. When I opened about almost 7 years ago now, this is 2021, I rented a little bitty store down in our historic downtown, about 400 square foot of retail space, because frankly, I wasn't sure if people wanted to buy rocks. I mean, after all, you can find rocks in your driveway. So it's like, do you really want to buy rocks? So
True.
Yeah. Apparently they did. So when my lease was up after the first year, I went from about 400 square foot to 3,600 square foot. Talk about a leap of faith, right?
That's huge.
That's huge. And in that 10-year period, I became a Reiki master. I learned pranic healing, which is it's sort of like Reiki on steroids. I learned harmonic healing or sound healing. Let's see, I became certified in Ho'oponopono, which is an ancient Hawaiian prayer chant. What else did I do? It seems it was a lot. Yeah. A lot of people say when I had my awakening, it's like my head blew up, and that's kind of what happened to me.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like when you connected with Mother Earth and were digging for these rocks, that's when more of your awakening came in? I mean, because you already know what it was like to be a child and and learning how to be adaptable through all that, because, I'm right there with you, sister. And how to find your way and be part of the normal part of the world, but still keep this part connected and not disconnected. But do you feel that really getting in there and having your hands in Mother Earth and so on really just,
Oh, yes.
like, open this pathway
Absolutely.
of like, ooh.
Absolutely. And like I said, I mean, I've been spiritually connected all my life, although disjointed, I have to say. And when I was on this particular crystal dig, I had a reasonable day in terms of finding crystals, but toward the end of the day, I was like, well, I'm not finding much, but I just had this little push from spirit to go to this one more place. So I moved all my gear and sat down and started digging. And almost immediately I pulled out a crystal that was, at least as long as my thumb and a beautiful point. And the minute I pulled it out, and I used my gloves to kind of wipe off some of the dirt, I just began bawling my head off. Now, first of all, I'm not much of a crier. I've never been a crier. And there was no particularly good reason for me to start, sobbing. And what I came to find out was this was my personal crystal. This was my connection. And okay, now we're going to kind of move into the weird. Are you ready for this?
I'm totally ready for it. I think the viewers will be too.
Okay, so it was a Lemurian crystal, which is it's a seed crystal, and it will activate life lessons for you. And so when I rubbed the crystal, I activated the life lesson. It also, there was an entity in the crystal by the name of, well, I can't say the whole name, but Amran. Okay. Amra is what I call her. It's a very feminine energy. And I connected with this energy very, very quickly. And I work with a lot of non-physical entities, including angels and ETs and interdimensional beings. And I believe this to be an interdimensional being, although I'm not sure. And apparently her spirit and my spirit were together in Lemuria, which was similar to Atlantis, but there's all kinds of mythology about the two communities. And we reconnected. And over the next year, I worked with some of my spiritual gurus and Amra and did a lot of work with my ET family. And the ET family downloaded a lot of DNA upgrades. So over the next year, I really had my DNA upgraded. Lot of downloads. Now, I'd also like to say that this was with permission. They asked before, and I agreed to update my DNA, and nothing was done involuntarily. It was an entirely different, it's entirely different than when people are abducted. I was not abducted.
Right. I understand.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure that I acknowledge that does happen. That is not what happened to me.
Yeah. And, I think just so our viewers understand, it's my understanding, and since you're more into this than I do and own a shop, is there are a lot of memories within rocks and crystals. And also we ourselves have been rocks and crystals in other lifetimes. And that actually, I kind of knew it, but I didn't know it until I think November 2019. I was working on someone, and then I had this big vision, and I was literally under the ground, but I was riding what I thought was a giant crystal all the way up to the surface.
Wow.
And broke through the surface. And when I looked around, it was desolate, but with just a lot of rocks and other crystals. And then I learned through a healing session with someone else that crystal was me. And so it was the crystal merging in with my DNA memory. of what that crystal is.
Right.
But a lot of people buy crystals and so on and think, oh, this is here for my protection. This is here for this is here for that.
Yep.
And they might miss the factor that they need to commune with the stone or the crystal in which they've selected, but it's also selected them.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to just talk about that for a quick second. I mean, because I'm sure you have a ton of people that come in the shop going,
stories.
Yeah.
I got
Tell,
stories.
do tell.
Well, I mean, countless times, a day, a week, we get customers that come into the store, some who've never been in the store. And, we greet them and, say hi and say, well, what can we do? What are you looking for? And we will get a response. I don't know. I just had to come here. I've never been here before. Something is calling me. And I'm going, I know. It's one of the crystals. And they'll say, well, which one do I need? Well, we've got thousands of crystals. And I'm like, well, what is it you're trying to accomplish? And if they still don't know because they've just been drawn here by spirit, often what I will say was just walk around and see which crystals are calling you. And sometimes they'll look at you like, they're rocks, hun.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
Just do it. And inevitably,
Mhm.
they will come back with one or two crystals, and they don't want to put them down. They're connected. So they may not consciously understand what's going on. They may not philosophically want to, confirm that, but emotionally and energetically, they do it all the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Until they connect with it, and then they realize the connection, the real connection, and then it sparks them open to get more, because you never just buy one crystal.
Not often.
No,
not often.
Doesn't happen.
And what's also very fun is that, like many things, I mean, everything has a frequency to it, right? And crystals are certainly frequencies. So some crystals have a much more obvious frequency where they almost feel like a Mexican jumping bean almost, okay? And so it's so much fun for, I call them newbies, when the newbies come into the store and they don't know anything about crystals or crystal energy, and we'll find a crystal that they're attracted to, and I will just have them hold it in their hand and just kind of get quiet and focus on that energy, and their faces go, I'm like, oh, you felt it, didn't you? Because they can feel a tingle or a buzzing, or sometimes it frequent, it's kind of jumpy. Sometimes their fingers will twitch, and this is all involuntary. Not everybody feels it, but a lot of people do feel it.
Yeah. Do you recommend that, people, clear out the crystal so that it's there for their highest good? Because
Absolutely.
if a really, higher frequency being or entity or essence or consciousness can be in a crystal, there could be something that isn't for your highest good. And people aren't taking the time to be responsible for connecting with that. What would you suggest there?
Well, whenever we get crystals in, every day, all day long, every night, I mean, we continually clear the crystals. So when you get a crystal from the rock shop, it's usually pretty clear, okay? But we have lots of customers who come in and pick up a crystal and handle it or move it around or whatever. And I like to use the example of a mirror, okay? So when you touch a mirror with your fingers, whether you can see that fingerprint or not, you have left an energetic signature on that mirror. And if you use a black light or, the fingerprint kit, I mean, you'll see it. If you turn on a thermal camera, you can see the energy signature from your finger. So even if you wash the crystal or the mirror, if you use a thermal camera, you'll still see the heat signature, at least for a few minutes until it cools off. And it's the same thing with crystals and quartz, especially. Quartz is, and this is mainstream science now. They're looking at quartz to be hard drives for computers. We've used quartz industrially for hundreds of years. Quartz watches, you can find quartz in sonar, radar, radio, television. Okay, so it has a lot of industrial uses. And one of them is it absorbs energy. Okay. And so, yes, you should always clear your crystals before you use them. Well, when you first get them, but then if you're going to use them either for meditation, for prayer, or if you are a healer using it, it's like a fine surgical tool. You definitely want to clean it and keep it clean.
Yeah, and when I use them for healing, I would do what, for a lack of a better word, sanitize before and after, so it's prepared just like you would with any medical tool or anything that's touching someone's skin. It's as common as washing your hands before and after, a healing session. It's not just for energetics; it's for literally cleansing anything off.
Yes. Right. Yeah. And I'm sure people are starting to say, well, how do I cleanse a crystal? Well, there's lots of ways. You can certainly use smudge. You could use a little incense. It's not as strong as using a smudge or a sage. I typically use frequencies. So you can use a bell if you've got a bell. I have tuning forks, which are at specific frequencies. But you can, if you've got, 2 hands, you can clap over it sharply like that and just say clear, and do that 3 times and just say clear. And that basically bombards it with a very strong shockwave of frequencies, and it breaks it up, and your intention is for it to clear. So you say it with authority, clear. Now, would you clear, please? No, not like that. Clear. Own it.
That is hilarious, because when you were saying that, I was like, can I clap on, clap off people that I meet? But my girlfriend is a psychiatrist, and there was a particular party we were at, and one person just was so annoying towards her for like 2 hours. And finally she had just had it, and she did the, like, right in front of him, just to kind of revamp him. And I'm like, I can't do that to everybody, but I like to just go like energetically clap on, clap off. But that's a great, simple tool to use.
You don't need anything fancy, folks. You really don't.
Well, keep it spiritually simple. It's not meant, none of this is meant to be overcomplicated on a regular basis. I agree.
And I can hear your viewers right now. Well, what about salt water? Yes, you can use salt water. You do have to be careful about which stones you soak and for how long. And there's a long list. Google knows them, or you can. I don't have that resource up on my website, but that'll be there in 2022.
Right. So people can come to your website and take a look at all that too. And they can also order from your website. And because, I was going to say the one really great thing you said was, that our staff clears as they come in and all day. And, a lot of these places are really just commercial sales places. And I guarantee you they are not doing that. I mean, I can feel the difference when I walk into certain places and other places, and I stay away from those that are more commercialized. So I applaud you on you taking that step.
We're very in fact, I just bought out an estate of a gentleman who I used to buy rocks from, and I don't know, I probably got about 500 pounds of crystals from him last week or 2 weeks ago now. And the house had been vacant because he had passed away, and the house was very messy, not quite at the hoarder level, but it was pretty messy. It was very chaotic. And the crystals were a mess. I mean, they were a mess. And when they came into the store, we had about 4 different energetic healers clear it. And we did that for about 4 days before they kind of settled down.
Nice.
But you could just feel them. You'd get close to them, and you just kind of felt. Yeah.
Now
I also have to give props, because I'm getting a little, thump on the head here. We have a very active community of Fae who are at the store. We have a fairy garden that is their home, and they work here. They're working Fae, so they
Awesome.
also work with the crystals. They're my second shift, so they work with the crystals at night and basically kind of let them. They let them know what the rules are.
I love it. So after you got into all of this, did you write your books prior to or while this was all flowing?
Okay. Well, the first book I wrote was a fiction book, and it was quite a long time ago. Let's just say you won't find it.
Okay.
It was not an overnight
It's
success.
been archived.
It's been archived. And about 20 years ago, I wrote a second book, a romance novel. Oh, I had so much fun writing it because I knew I wanted to be a writer. Okay. And it occurred to me if I wanted to be a writer, I probably need to write something. So I wrote a second book, just a fluffy romance novel, and tried to sell it. No publisher wanted it, no agent picked it up, and so I put it in the drawer. And fast forward 15 years, about 4.5 years ago, this woman comes running into the store right around Thanksgiving, and she goes, "I'm just in town for Thanksgiving for some family. I'm a partner at this new publishing company. I saw your store. You wouldn't happen to be an author, would you?" This is verbatim.
Can't make this stuff up.
And I'm going, well, as a matter of fact, energetically pull the drawer out, dust off. Here's a manuscript. Long story short, they did publish it. And then I had a little emotional crisis. It's like, I really had a great time writing the romance novel, but it had been 20 years ago and my spiritual life had kind of moved on. And it's like, I need to be writing, but I'm not sure it's romance novels that I need to be writing. And so I really kind of struggled. They wanted, 2 or 3 more books. And, I could have followed that path, but just, I call it a bubble of resistance. There was this little resistance, like, that's not your path. That's not your path. And so I passed on writing more romance novels. And I ended up writing a book about my life. And so that one's called Voices in My Head: The Truth About God, Aliens, Entities, and the Fae, basically. And that one sells well. It sells well here at the store, and it's starting to pick up a little traffic on Amazon. And I now have a little angel message book and 2 more journals. So I think it's the nonfiction that I'm supposed to be really focusing on.
Yeah, I mean, you're writing. You're still writing. You're just not.
I am writing.
You're just not writing the topics that got you out there in this divine meeting between you and this lady. But you're still writing, and it's doing well.
Oh, yeah.
And you put out your YouTube with your messages, which are cool, which is how I came across you.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't surf much at all. I really don't listen to a lot of people because I really like my messages to be very direct. So when I do find someone, I should say they find me, and it's like, oh, okay. And then it has to be sort of this uplifting, above what's going on down here on the surface stuff that I listen to. So I've always enjoyed picking up your YouTube and your messages that you share.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, we are all light workers here at the store, and that's really my mission. I'm a spiritual being having a physical experience.
Exactly.
Not the other way around.
Exactly. Now, I know that you've got some amazing spiritual souls there working that call themselves the witches or whatever.
Oh, yes.
And so I just, a lot of people, well, we've been entrained to believe witches are bad. And then the ones that were burnt in Salem really were just herbalists, et cetera. Well, yeah, exactly. and so on. And I think in this lifetime, we're able to come out of covert and begin to say proudly what we are, because there's a difference between white witch, black witch, white magic, black magic. There's a difference between whatever you want to call it. I try not to call it anything. I just, whatever work I do, messaging, healing work, it's all divine intervention through, the sacred soul. But so anyway, tell me a little bit about your beautiful witches that you work with.
Okay. Well, first of all, full disclosure, I am not a witch. I do magic on purpose. And I have one of my witchy friends insist that because I do that, that makes me a witch. That is not how I identify at all. And as I explained to him, I'm way weirder than that. way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're way down the woo-woo train. Like, you haven't even got to our caboose yet.
Way down the woo-woo train. Yeah. And I've always considered myself a possibilities merchant, and that has been on my business card for 45 years. And so, I make magic and I manifest things, but I don't identify as a witch.
Got it.
So, and I grew up Presbyterian. I'll be 70 in August. So I'm 69 right now. Wow. And I got to tell you, I grew up with all of the, Hollywood infusion of witches are bad, they're green, they eat children, they dance naked at night, and it's very, very scary.
Well, that's the sadistic ones for sure.
Yeah. And there's evil that exists everywhere. Okay. You don't have to be a witch to be evil. Yeah. So when I first opened the store, I didn't, I avoided witchcraft and anything along those lines very, very adamantly. I was like, I was scared of it, to be honest with you. And I met and then hired a young man who, if you watch any of my other videos on my channel, it's called Ask a Witch, Jonathan. And Jonathan is quite the character. And I love Jonathan. And he is a practicing Wiccan witch. And so I took one of his Wiccan courses to educate myself. And I pushed him pretty hard about what about this? What about that? What about this other thing? And I was quite satisfied with, witchcraft in general and Wicca in particular. And so we started opening up the store and bringing in more pagan and Wiccan and witchcraft type of books and products. And so, and I got to tell you, our customer base has really expanded. Excuse me. So we're very embracing of that community. And I got to tell you, there are evil people in every corner of the world, always has been, and always will be. It doesn't matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter what your color is. It doesn't matter what your gender is. If you're evil, you're evil. Okay.
Yes. Well, yes, I have watched Jonathan. He is quite the character. And then yes, and I got introduced to the other two gals that you have in there. And it's like, it's if you can just get past the stigmatism of certain things and look at the background, the information, the knowledge, and also the person, the purity of the person that's bringing things through, it's you can tell when someone has a different agenda than the highest good, and if we can take, so much has been taken in and out of our religious context that it's even hard to keep up with what's what, but it's all mastery in there too. So I'm just glad that you have all of that. Well, and I love the name Nice Rock Shop. I'm like, hello, that is so
I'm not terribly
easy.
Creative. We sell rocks, so it's a rock shop. And it's a nice rock shop.
Exactly. I mean,
you don't have to figure it out.
Yeah. Whoever thought about, selling a rock? I mean, kids would do it all the time, at lemonade stands that have little rock stands. You're like, sure, I'll buy a rock. I mean, this your college fund or what's happening here?
Exactly.
I mean, it's evolved so much in our spiritual evolution at this point in time.
Yeah.
So is there anything
Well, we
else
are
you
all light workers.
pardon me?
Well, we
We're
are
all
all
light
light workers.
workers. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I
You
have
wouldn't
my
be on
employees.
here. You wouldn't be on this.
That's
Keep
right.
it spiritually simple.
Well, and I want to say, you know, don't be naive. Okay. We have a number of intuitive readers that come in. They're contractors. They're not employees. And I interview them and I vet them, and they agree to do certain things and not do other things. And you know, it's an interesting group of people. And we've had at least one who was working with an entity that was not of the light, if you get my drift.
Okay.
And we let him go. And you know, I know some people give me a little pushback about that. It's like, well,
It's lesson learned.
no.
Hey, listen, it is a prime example. It's a prime example of anyone can infiltrate at any time, no matter what the agenda is. But the fact is, if we can recognize it, and disperse of it. I mean, this is going to happen in our regular life. It's going to happen anywhere. And the thing is to recognize it. So good for you.
That's exactly where I was going. You know, don't be naive. You know, we're a rock shop. We're all light workers. We keep everything all clean and upbeat at the store. But we have a lot of people who come in. I'm sure people have a lot of things that come into their own life. Their kids go to school or you go to work. And so you pick up stuff and be diligent. And when you see something's off energetically, don't just press it off, you know, just poo it off, deal with it. Because it's like you see one roach, get that damn roach taken care of, or you're going to have an infestation.
Yes.
And so, yeah, don't be naive. Don't be naive. Pay attention. The company you keep makes a difference. And if you're hanging around people who are negative or dark or evil, do not be fooled. You will be corrupted by that.
Yeah, and even those who are naysayers and just dense people,
They're still affected.
Yeah, like attracts like, for sure. And if you can recognize it and say, this is just not for me, I'm not supposed to be a part of this group or whatever, you know, you got to disband. But, you know, talking about the crystals and the rocks and things and purification, it's the same thing you need to do when you buy clothing or furniture or foods and bring them back into your home. Yeah, bringing them back into your home. Absolutely. You've got to clear those things.
Especially old jewelry.
Good idea.
Even if it's your own family's estate jewelry, okay? You need to clear it, because let's just take a ring, for example, that maybe your great grandmother or an aunt or someone wore all the time. You know, if they wore it all the time and they died, let's say from cancer, for example, all that energy is imprinted on that jewelry. So you really do need to clear it before you start wearing it. Now, listen to me carefully. I'm not saying that you're going to get cancer from wearing estate jewelry. I'm not saying that, okay? But I am saying that old jewelry and things like, you know, used furniture can pick up frequencies that you may not want in your world. So don't be naive. Get it cleaned up.
Yeah, I'm with you all the way. And I think some of us are now rethinking, even when we're buying things, whether it's on the internet or in stores, we're even looking where it's been made. And do we want that in our home? And you know, the whole thing about blessing the food is you're going all the way back to its original source to bless it, so that it follows that trail all the way to your table and your mouth. But if you just sit down and you're like, oh, hey, thanks, and start eating, and you're mindlessly, you know, whatever, and you think nothing of it, you're now bringing in more of that. So it's really just a mindful intention that you can just clear things, including yourself, before you take yourself somewhere. And when you leave somewhere, you bring in and you take back out, so you don't leave any residues that might not be for the highest good of the next person in that space, period.
Right. Well, can we talk about blessing your food for just a minute?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, I just did a blog about this because, Thanksgiving, and a lot of people were getting together for Thanksgiving with family that maybe didn't match up exactly in lifestyle or philosophy. And maybe perhaps the family was Christian or Jewish and wanted to say a prayer, a traditional prayer that the person didn't feel comfortable participating in. So rather than not participating, there's a way to bless your food that's non-denominational, that is not religious in any way, shape, or form. And if you're not doing it, you're missing the boat. And basically what you do is you just get quiet, and you could even join in with the prayer. Okay. You don't necessarily need to say it, but you just sort of gently position your hands so that it's facing the food, and you just get quiet, and you just say something along the lines is, I bless this food, and I bless and I thank all who helped bring it to my table. May it nourish my body, make me strong and healthy. I like to keep my weight down, so I'll add, and help me reach and maintain the name, but you can say amen or so be it or whatever. And when you say that blessing, if you think about it, I bless and I thank all who helped bring this food to my table. That blessing explodes out all the way up and all the way down the food chain.
Yeah.
So let's say you're eating an apple. Okay. I mean, you've got the farmer, you've got the person who picked the apple.
You got the soil of the tree, you got everything.
Soil of the tree. How about the seeds that planted the tree, the trucks, the people who made the tires for the truck, the people who, assembled the truck, the people who pumped the gasoline into the main tanks. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of people who are associated with you getting that single apple to nourish your body. And when you send that blessing out, you are changing the world. Don't be fooled. You are changing the world. And what a wonderful legacy. I mean, do that a couple times a day, and you're doing your part to make the world a better place.
I'm right there with you. And I say a very similar prayer that you just did. And I'll say, may it nourish my body, and what doesn't nourish my body may be discarded very quickly.
I like that.
And then sometimes I'll say, but not that quickly. I'd like to get through the meal and have a conversation first, maybe get home.
Yeah.
That's just my humor. It's like, but not that quickly, but within an hour or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do that even sometimes, like if I'm eating something that I know isn't so healthy, I say, I'm just blessing this beautiful piece of cake that somebody prepared, and the flour and the eggs and the whipping machine and the topping and the decorations. And I'm just going to enjoy all of that and then discard what I don't need quickly. More quickly than maybe something else.
There you go. I love it.
All right. Well, before we sign off, because we're going to have to do a part 2 on this, because I'm sure there's so much more to teach people from your knowledge with rocks, crystals, and prayer, and so many other things, is I'll post your link to the nice rock shop in there, because people can purchase from you, and they could be mailed to them. And they could call and even talk to one of the staff members, I'm sure, on something to order. And I'll post that link. But is there anything else that you would like to share with the viewers today, and any other links that you would like for me to attach to this video?
Well, I'd just like to share that I appreciate them, spending time on the video. And I would like to thank you for inviting me on. We are all light workers. And if you're feeling alone out there, don't feel alone. Reach out, even if it's just to the angelic realm. You do have a guardian angel. You do have angels and loved ones who are in spirit, that are there for you. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think many of us have been
more in solitude, I think, in the last year and a half too, or
Well,
maybe a little
it's
more
been hard.
solo. And then so many fences put up for one reason or another within the last year and a half. So some people are feeling that aloneness and also feeling, questioning who they are, what they're doing, where they're
Right.
going, who am I, what's this world about? And that can have a heavy density alone feeling
Right.
to it as well. So I agree with you. People can reach out and
Yeah.
find other people like us that are like-minded, that are there to support. And, you know, having a crystal or a rock or a stone of some sort, you know, with you or around you, can really give you also a deeper feeling of connection to
It can.
Mother Earth and the spirit angelical realm too.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So thank you
So
for all the work you're doing. It's
thank
appreciated.
you.
And thank you for the connection to the rock shop. I appreciate
Oh,
that.
absolutely. Absolutely. And so what I'll do is I'm just going to say goodbye to the viewers, and I'll come right back to you. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank Miss Susan Edwards. And please check out Nice Rock Shop, and feel free to order because they're a little intentionally cleansed stones. And then you can also merge your energies in with them. And much love and light to each and every one of you. Bye.